Return of the Mount Hua Sect, Chapter 131. Now my work starts. A flustered look was evident on Yunjong's face when he saw the numerous Wudang swordsmen rush at him. It shouldn't be like this. Are you going to call me a coward? No, that's not it. Let's see. There are 4 of them. No, this is unreasonable. Yunjong stepped back. Since he was the first to win his fight, the enemies all flocked to him. You shouldn't do this. You talk a lot. No, not that. Yunjong groaned. I'm not the strongest of us. I'm the weak link. Baekchun Sasuk is the strongest. If he's busy, then go to the second strongest person. Yunjong's reaction was so intense that the disciples of Wudang could only blankly stare at him. They couldn't even feel angry when they saw his face, which seemed to shamefully curse his unreasonable circumstances. Who's the second strongest? When someone asked that question, Yunjong immediately pointed to a person. There, over there, see that? Suspicion arose, and the expressions of the Wudang disciples turned strange as they looked at the person Yunjong had pointed out. That person. Their sword was cutting through space. This person displayed Mount Hua's swordsmanship, but it was clearly different from what the others had shown. Her steps flowed seamlessly and softly, as if swimming through the sky. It wasn't as fancy, but much more graceful. Yu Yisol's sword flitted through the air. The space where her swordsmanship was unfolded felt too distant for the observers to pursue. The eyes of the Wudang disciples trembled. So it's not me! Yunjong couldn't stand the injustice of being the one targeted and spoke out. Yu Yisol was originally strong. Normally, Yu Yisol should have had a position as one of the second-class disciple representatives in the last Jeonnam conference. Although she was young, she took to the sword quickly and showed exceptional talent. To be honest, except for Baekchun, there were very few who could beat her. Such a person then came under the tutelage of Chung-myung. She's insane too. While others were desperately trying to hide away from him, she eagerly chased after Chung-myung to learn as much as possible and unconditionally absorbed and mastered everything he had to teach. After 2 years of that, she had reached a level where her swordsmanship was unmatched. Yunjong couldn't accurately gauge whether or not she could defeat Baekchun, but he at least believed that she wouldn't be pushed back easily. Thud. The disciple going against her eventually collapsed. A hushed calm spread and dominated the hall. A sharp scream then broke the cold silence. The disciple tasked with defeating Jogul grabbed his leg and screamed. Blood was dripping down from a long gash along the man's right thigh. 4. In an instant, 4 people had collapsed. Most shocking of all was that Jinhyun was among the 4 that had fallen. Sayang, to a single man. The disciples of Wudang bit their lips. Jinhyun was a step above the others. In other words, if Jinhyun was defeated, none of them could defeat Baekchun one-on-one. And everyone else would suffer too. 6 disciples remained. 4 had fallen. A lot could be inferred from the results. As long as Jinhyun was among the fallen, it was safe to say that the 6 still standing were weaker than those 4 on Mount Hua's side. What's more, Mount Hua's disciples had defeated their opponents and remained completely unscathed. Could the 6 of them change the result then? It wasn't a difficult calculation to make. The remaining Wudang disciples couldn't bring themselves to move and trembled in place. Baekchun, who immediately recognized that they had lost their motivation, quietly asked, "Do you want to continue?" A cornered rat would even bite a cat. Baekchun had no intention of driving the Wudang to the edge. "If we keep going, you may stand a chance, but if the wounded don't get medical attention right now, they might be in severe trouble. Is this matter enough for you to sacrifice the future of your Sahyungs?" Stand down. We won this time. Take your Sahyungs, heal them, and leave Nanyang before the night is over. Your Sahyung made this promise on his honor, so the Wudang shall no longer involve themselves in the Hua Sect's affairs. Your Path's Edge training hall will be rooted out too. Jinmu bit his lip as he looked at his Sahyungs gathering around him. Once Jinhyun was down, he became the one in charge. Something needed to be done in this situation. But we already lost our chance to win. Continuing to fight would increase the damage suffered. So after much thought, Jinmu put his hands together. We thank Mount Hua for its kindness. Today, we will admit our defeat. Baekchun nodded. I won't see you off. Yes. Jinmu winced, seeing the healthy disciples supporting the wounded. He took one final look at the disciples of Mount Hua and headed out the main gate. Move! The Wudang disciples pushed aside the audience that gathered to watch the event as they hurried to their subsect's main building. The people of Nanyang that watched everything unfold were left in awe, unable to say anything. They couldn't follow martial arts at that level. All they saw was something flash and flicker before seeing people collapse. However, anyone with eyes could see that the Wudang's retreat signaled Mount Hua's victory. Oh my god! The Wudang sect! Mount Hua took them down! Who here could have predicted this outcome? Mount Hua defeating the Wudang. Of course, the outcome of one fight doesn't mean that Mount Hua is stronger than Wudang. It was impossible to discuss the differences between the two sects based solely on a fight between their disciples. Although it wasn't much, it was still clear at this moment Mount Hua defeated Wudang. Huh? They say Mount Hua is regaining its former glory. It seems like it's really true. Right? Isn't that great? They fought the Wudang to save the Hua sect. Going to such a place is worth it. It's worth going. The crowd that watched the fight from outside the collapsed wall began to mumble and murmur amongst themselves. Baekchun glanced at them briefly and then turned away. He steadily approached Wei Lipsan. Sect leader. Yes. Wei Lipsan suddenly came to his senses and looked at Baekchun, but he was completely speechless. Mount Hua has successfully defeated the Hua sect. Baekchun and the Sahyungs lined up together. Wei Lipsan bit his lips. His eyes moistened as he looked at these young disciples. As leader of the Hua sect, I would like to express my gratitude to Mount Hua. When Wei Lipsan bowed, Baekchun stood him up straight. You don't have to say that. We only did what we're supposed to do. Wei Lipsan was unable to look him in the eyes, and the disciples of Mount Hua smiled while looking at him. An emotional sight that would make anyone nod their heads. Wow, such a touching moment, eh? Why do you have to spoil everything, you bastard? Congratulations, Sect Leader Wei. It was so amazing. You've been living as part of Mount Hua all this time. That Mount Hua. You're finally getting rewarded. Wei Lipsan's smile reached his ears. Thank you. Thank you. Even after the Wudang disciples left, Wei Lipsan couldn't rest. The residents of Nanyang had come to congratulate him. Most of these people had taken a neutral stance when both subsects began their quarrel. Yet now, they tried to curry favor with the Hua sect because they felt that the subsect had firmly taken control of Nanyang after defeating the Wudang sect. Despite being fully aware of that, Wei Lipsan greeted them with a smile. So what? This was only a privilege that only the victors could enjoy. It was 100 times better to receive hollow congratulations and empty praises rather than lose everything and be forced to leave their home in defeat. Was there anyone that would disagree? I didn't think Mount Hua would be this strong. I didn't either. This must be why the sect leader was always so proud and confident. Please stop. Wei Lipsan forced a smile. He only hoped that this smile looked a little confident. After receiving greetings from the guests, as well as the apologies of the disciples that had fled the sect, Wei Lip-san was able to wrap up the situation and return to the main building of the sect. His body still hadn't recovered from his fight the other day, but his heart had lightened and his mind felt refreshed. For such a day to come. How could he not be happy? He received so much today. First, he confirmed with his own eyes that his hallowed sect, which he thought was ruined, had finally been completely resurrected. What's more, they rushed straight over to help him without hesitating for even a moment. Father, what you said wasn't wrong. It was thanks to the words of his late father that he was able to see this day. Wei Lip-san walked with a spring in his step. The heroes that defended the Hua Sect were here now. Wei Lip-san thought that perhaps they would also be celebrating their achievements and toasting over a feast. I need to apologize. He felt that he should apologize for not trusting them and being annoyed at them. He also wanted to discuss the future of Mount Hua with them and make a toast. Wei Lip-san opened the door to the main building and shouted, You must have waited a long... But his voice faltered. No, you crazy bastard, stop it! What are you doing now, you brat? Catch him, catch that bastard right now! Items were scattered all around. Chairs flew through the sky, and lanterns that were hanging on the ceiling had fallen to the ground and set the floor ablaze. Only one thought passed through Wei Lip-san's mind as he bore witness to this chaos. Did the Wudang attack us again? No, that wasn't possible. Then what was the situation? Puck. He saw Jogul, who was charging at Chung-myung, get kicked and collapse screaming. I'm sure he defeated one of the Wudang disciples earlier. A man like that was kicked away so easily. Maybe I'm dreaming. No, this is really happening. Chung-myung, who pushed away his sahyungs, grabbed a bundle of luggage and began to take something out. Clothes? What kind of clothes could he be taking out in this mad situation? What? It was a completely black outfit. Clothing that tightly clung to the body and obscured the wearer. That's definitely the garb of thieves and assassins. No, what the hell are you doing wearing that, you brat? In an instant, Chung-myung draped himself in the mysterious outfit and looked at his sahyungs. Baek-chun, sweating nervously, raised his hand in an effort to calm Chung-myung. It seemed as if he was trying to stop a mad dog from growling. Chung-myung, calm down and think this over. The Wudang sect is gone. There's no need to do this. Gone? Right. They left. Our work is done. Now all we need to do is return to Mount Hua. Didn't the sect leader tell you? Don't create trouble. Chung-myung smiled brightly and nodded his head. Ah, right. Sasuk, Sago, and my dear sahyungs, your work is done. Don't worry. There was a lot that happened in your fights I didn't like, but I'll spare you the nagging since we won. Except for you, Jogul sahyung. Why me? Chung-myung smiled at Jogul, who was flustered. But Sasuk. Yes. Only Sasuk's work is done. So, he put the cloth over his face and tightened it, exposing only his eyes, which looked twisted as hell. Now, my work starts. Just wait here. I'll tell you what kind of conspiracies those bastards have plotted. You're the one making dubious plots. See you. Catch that bastard. Stop! Stop him! Block his path! But despite the desperate rush of the others, Chung-myung managed to avoid their grasp and flew out the door. Then, Chung-myung winked at Wei Lip-san, who was standing near the door, before he vanished into the shadows. Ugh, we're doomed. This can't... The hopeless voices of Mount Hua's disciples, who stared into the distance where Chung-myung disappeared, made the situation seem incredibly bizarre. Wei Lip-san looked up at the night sky with a smile. Father, something seems seriously wrong around here. It felt like he could hear his father's voice echoing the same sentiment back to him.